my first Scotch. My first Scotch. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned. So, go back to the 2000s. I'm a touring musician. Anywhere you can drink, I become famous for drinking whiskey, because when you tour, you can never be certain whether someone can mix a drink. So you get an old-fashioned in one place, and then you go to the next town and next show, and you ask for an old-fashioned. It could be crap. You have no idea. But if you order whiskey neat in a glass, that's hard to screw up, although it has been done. But Jameson and Irish whiskey, that was my go-to. It was easy. I knew it. I liked it. It wasn't a struggle. I usually went either Jameson or Bushmills, and that was just it. And then one day, I was visiting my dad, and he had just got back from a trip. I can't remember he got this way. Anyway, he brought back this bottle of Scotch, and it was called Longmorn 16. And you couldn't get it anywhere around us. He was, I think, I don't remember where he got it. It might have been a cruise or something, and he went into like the tourist gift shop, and they had this Scotch. And so he got it. And he poured it for me. And my whole world altered from what was possible in whiskey. I had no idea that these flavors and this complexity and this level of nuance was a possibility in whiskey. I just hadn't really considered it. I had just considered whiskey like an easy go-to beverage at a bar, as opposed to really thinking about whiskey. And I suppose I have that moment both for turning me into a Scotch drinker as my preferred beverage, and also for really opening the world of whiskey to me for the first time. So, thanks, Dad, for that moment, because otherwise there'd probably be no whiskey marketing school and no YouTube channel, and I wouldn't know any of you guys, or talk to you, or have gotten to interact with you, or create this entire community with you. Because this is the story, I'm going to talk more about Longmorn, because to me, Longmorn is the beginning of my whiskey journey, my true whiskey journey. And everybody has a beginning. And this is mine. So, Longmorn 16. Longmorn is a Speyside distillery. For the longest time, oh, the irony of that sentence, you couldn't get it anywhere except for locally. I think they had a 15. And it was like old, antique-y, old-timey graphic. But they're owned, I can't remember, who are they owned by? Is it not Diageo? Anyway, the majority of their whiskey goes into blends. So almost everything that Longmorn makes goes into large blends. And so they don't really have a full single malt lineup available to the public. For a while, they did this Longmorn 16, and first it was this old-timey packaging, and then it went to this like brown and green packaging, and then it was re-released inside the last decade as this new purple and silver combo. This is the newest one. Now, here's the bummer. I've discovered that recently they discontinued it again. And as of right now, if you go to the website, the only single malts that they are putting out are the Longmorn 18 and the Longmorn 22 in totally different packaging. You cannot get this now unless you find somebody who already had these bottles before it went out of business, or before they discontinued that line. So sad. But, they're prioritizing blends and scaling up in volume, so maybe wait another 12 years and they'll start going back to another release of the Longmorn 16. But for now, we're going to try the newest, most recent version of the Longmorn 16. The classic Longmorn nose to me is this honey drizzled berries and cream with a really dense, almost perfumey floral aspect that reminds me of jasmine or honeysuckle, but it's dense and it's heady and it's aromatic and almost cloying, like too close. And then behind there's a little bit of overripe peach. And then if you wait long enough, you get a slight spice of some sort that like hints at baking spices, but it's just a wisp of it's almost citrus. Yeah, it's almost a zest. In the palate, rolls across with that rich cream-soaked berry, toasted vanilla, a little hint of an earthy meatiness to it that never quite reaches smoke, but instead gets slightly earthy, and a little bit of a prickliness that hints at pepper, but doesn't quite reach it. Now, this is not the Longmorn 16 that changed my life. This is just a Longmorn 16 that's really good. My understanding is that when they switched to this bottling, and this is not necessarily a fact, this is just from some interviews I've heard and read, I think the guy who blended the newer version incorporated some older casks into the Longmorn 16, and it changed the nature of the Longmorn 16 a little. It also made it an older, because remember, 16 is just the age statement of the youngest barrel, right? So this one has older whiskey, and I think they thought maybe that will make it even more rich and even more voluptuous. And it did, but it also lost this really weird X factor, third gravitating body sparkle thing that changed everything for me that existed in the original Longmorn 16. Now, it's just proof that older is not better as a flat out statement. Older is different. I'm going to do a video on that at some point. Older is not better. Older is different. But I got a little surprise for you. I have the original Longmorn 16. It's been hiding in my desk. Oh, it's still got bubble wrap. And I'm going to open it right now. And then I'm going to take it home, because this is mine, not the vault's, and share it with my dad. So Dad, if you're watching this, stay tuned. This is the Longmorn 16 that changed me, this one, into a Scotch drinker. Right here. And what I love about this box, look at this. The other one has it. It says, I think the other one does too. Right there it says, Long No More. So good. Okay. And I've got water. Not that I don't think I'm going to use it on this one. And I've got a clean glass. Ha! Ta-da! Oh, I was really hoping the cork wasn't dried out and coming apart. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now we get a real A-B comparison between these two. By the way, when I was researching all of this, again, just to remind myself of the origins, I stumbled on a Dramface. If you guys aren't following Dramface, the whiskey review site, you should. It's great. It's free. There's a members version, but you don't have to be a member. And I stumbled onto a write-up on Longmorn 16 written by Murdo McTeer, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it was a really great write-up, and I'm reading it and thinking, this is really well thought through. And then I hit my name in the article. I was like, oh! And he said, ever since I saw Daniel Whittington talking about this whiskey, and I'm like, oh man, when you get to the point where random people on the internet are doing reviews of a whiskey and reference your love of it, you know you maybe have talked about it a little too much. So, but it was a great write-up, and Dramface is a great website. That was dated August 20th, 2024. It was like only 2 weeks ago that he posted that. What are the odds that this is about the same time that I think of doing this? Okay, now between them, the newer one, way more berries and cream, and the older one, also berries and cream, but has a secondary layer of earth and fall leaves in it. Oh, there it is. Son of a bitch. It's so subtle and so complex and so nuanced and so delicate, but it ends with the black pepper spice that's like this little, it's like a firework going off in the distance. Not enough to distract you, but enough to be like, oh, that's cool, fireworks. And then it vanishes, and you're left with this sort of like cooling, light sweetness, but you want to go back to find that pepper again, so you take another sip. Oh, and it only shows up on the finish. Starts berries and cream, goes vanilla, and then just as you're swallowing and you think you're done, it goes, and then it sort of dissipates and lightens. It's just unexpected. You always go back to it. I think it's because it's a little younger, and so the actual barley characteristics are showing up a little bit stronger than they do in the older whiskey. This one's still a great whiskey. I haven't tried their new 18 and 22-year-old. This one's sweeter, strangely more earthy, ashy almost, but turns ashy instead of peppery at the end on this bottling. Anyway, 48 and 48. They're both at 48. So, I mean, look, if you were being fair, these are easily within a single digits percentile of being close to each other. 10% variation, maybe, at most. So, great job blending a new release. But there's just this black pepper that is dampened down over here, but here is wild and alive. And that's the thing that changes it for me. I'm going to add a little water to the newest one. I'm going to leave this one alone for, reasons. This changed my world. This idea, two things changed my world. Longmorn changed my world. It's known as a distiller's malt, which means like everybody in the industry knows about it and they all respect it because it's really well made and it's a beautiful whiskey. And I could see how this would blend beautifully. It sort of hurts my heart to think of all the barrels being dumped into blends from Longmorn Distillery. I want to go like rescue them or something. But so with the water, the berries get sweeter, the vanilla comes to the front and the nose. The earthy ashy turns into like toasted marshmallow, like charred edge marshmallow instead of like smoky ashy. It's nice. I actually like it with a little bit of water. It really opens up a few things. It loses that little hint of citrus and it loses the really nice vanilla berry. But it's still a really great, it's great both ways. It also changed my world when this came out and I was like, yes, it's back. And then I tried it and went, it's not, I feel like I remember this differently. And then I found one of the original bottlings and I did remember it differently. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Assam is the one who found all of these old Longmorn bottles and sold them to me. So thank you. I think it was Justin Jesser. If I'm wrong about that, I'm so sorry, and I promise I will do a video correction. The fact that Older actually took away that magical sparkle, that was kind of eye-opening for me. And I'm glad that I learned that lesson before I started blending my own whiskeys and my own products for Crowded Barrel, because it came in handy over and over and over. And I don't really have anything else to add to the story. This is just a personal Longmorn story with Daniel Whittington. I'm glad that you were here for it. I'm really glad you're here in general. Cheers to you. That's the old one. Oh, cheers. If you like hearing random stories while I drink whiskeys you probably can't get, this probably should have been on a different episode in the old vault, then like and subscribe. Cheers.